hunting in the 21st century, using technology for career search advantages. Who am I? I'm Dawn D. Boyer, PhD, and I have 22 years of human resources recruiting and resume writing experience and have written over 10,000 resumes in the last 12 years. I've assisted hundreds of job seekers get their resume in front of recruiters, headhunters, or hiring managers for consideration, and my consulting company does help job seekers rewrite resumes for job searches. If after watching this presentation you just can't seem to do it yourself, I will be able to help you get your resume written so that you can get a new job. Before you go out and spend thousands of dollars, I do want to note that this video is provided as an alternative to spending a lot of money for career assistance with those big companies that provide all these very expensive services. The goal for this richly informative training is to provide all you need for that job search, that you will use the skills and the knowledge you already have and will learn how to use here to find that next great job at a much cheaper price. Every trip worth making begins with that goal, and it needs a map to follow. Successful businesses have strategic short and long-term plans, so you need to keep your job search as a strategic business goal and plan the same way. Job searches and career planning should be no different from each other. There's hundreds of professional resume writers out there. They're looking for the hungry job seekers, those who are desperate, those who know they don't know what they have to write, and they're not quite sure exactly what recruiters want. Some resume writers are very good at what they do. Others are so concerned with making the resume pretty that they're not really doing any favors for the job seeker. So what do you need to look for in a professional resume writer who really knows what they're doing? What you can ask of the resume writer when you start shopping around is for samples of their resumes that they have written recently for either a similar business or industry client that are close to what your career goals are for. Are the resumes full of subjective terms? Look those over and see if you see excellent, speedy, responsible, perfectionist, all these subjective terms that really are the person's opinion about how well they did, not anything that describes something concrete. Do the resume samples have lists of achievements that are relating to metrics like percentages, dollar values, revenue, overhead reductions, or do they describe projects that have been completed with specific time frames? Do they get delivered in time or ahead of time? Would you want to hire that job seeker from the sample resume based on what is in their resume? Ask the resume writer how many resumes they have written in their career. If they have written under 40 to 50 professional resumes, they're pretty much still amateurs themselves. If the resume writer has hundreds or even thousands of resumes written, then they have a process, a format, and most likely a successful formula that works for their customers. Ask the resume writer if they are certified. There are some certification programs out there. They're probably worth what they've paid to get the test and the certification done. Or they could have been writing resumes for corporate projects or programs such as the proposals department or a contract bidding department. Don't trust the resume writer simply because they're a career counselor, or they think they're good at resume writing or job search advice. There's a lot of people that have been told by other people that this is the way it's done, And they really haven't thought outside the box or really explored new technology-based answers, new ideas, or anything that is more advanced than what it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. The experts have experience analyzing data in resumes and are very well versed and accomplished at compressing those important messages into very quickly read, researched, and rich snippets of information. Well-written resumes will show, not tell, a story. Does the resume writer know about search engine optimization? Do they know about how to fill a resume with keywords, buzzwords, and industry terms and phrases, including what they call long tail phrases, which is a cluster of words all combined together? Do they have recruiting experience themselves? Do they know how the recruiting software called automatic tracking systems work with query engines to really understand the process on the other side of the firewall when it comes to applying for positions? Can the resume writer create an easy-on-the-eye format that can digitally convert from a word process version to a text version without adding a bunch of extra line spaces or losing any data in the document? That's very important to know. Does the resume writer insist on a 1 or 2 page resume? If they do, you need to walk away. 1 or 2 page resumes are strictly for handing hard copies to interested parties. In the digital technology age, 3, 4, and 5 page resumes that are going to be stored online as digital electronic documents are perfectly acceptable. Your resume is a career history. It needs to be told in a very precise manner, and it needs to highlight your most brilliant career achievements. It can't be reduced to 1 page for decades of experience. And if you only have a 1 or 2 page resume, this cheats the job seeker from really telling the story. What's the average number of pages that you should think about for your career resume? Approximately 1 page per decade of career experience will ensure that the very important knowledge, skills, and abilities that recruiters are looking for will be there and readable for the headhunters. What about the resume writer services? Are they spelled out and explained thoroughly for each stage or each rewrite of the new resume? Or do they rewrite it and then tell you that it costs more for them to spend more time on revisions? Does the resume writer try to add on other services that have no return on investment? Some companies will offer services where they will mail your resume out to hundreds of their database point of contacts. In this digital age and time, mailing resumes and cover letters are pretty much a waste of time. Does a resume writing service provide social media career management as a vital service? Because so many people look for jobs and are open to career inquiries on some social media, it is vital to be able to get your resume digitally placed on the internet and in social media platforms. If they can't do it for you or won't do it for you, then keep on walking, find someone else who can. Does a resume writer charge exorbitant prices, like thousands of dollars, to rewrite the resume or help you get coached through interview processes and procedures and questions? Or are they charging so little money that you're not really sure you're going to get the value or the quality that you are looking for or deserve? A simple resume should cost you between $150 and $200 to be rewritten, and rewrites or additional jobs added on later or over the years should only be charged $25 to $50 a piece. If someone's only charging you $50, $75, $100 for a resume rewrite, they're probably not charging enough if they're good, or they may just be not confident in their services. Many resume writers will ask for payment up front because once the resume is written, then if the customer decides not to pay because they're not happy with the resume or the results, then the resume writer won't get their money for the time spent. So do acknowledge that the resume writers may ask for payment up front. Now also look for referrals for resume writers. If you get word of mouth, or if you go onto LinkedIn, Google Plus places, or other places and see all kinds of recommendations, then it's probably a good chance that the resume writer has a good clientele and knows what they're doing. Like I said, a professional resume writer should charge enough money for a resume rewrite, and also perhaps a little bit more for an executive or skilled professional resume. Resume writers should be open-minded and accept ideas and suggestions from the job seeker as they rebuild the resume. Remember, this is your job search tool, and you're paying the money for the resume to be rewritten, so the resume writer should either take your ideas and suggestions into account, or if what you're suggesting is not a good idea, they should counter your idea with a reasonable explanation. Job seekers should also recognize that any written or verbal interview questions from the resume writer are there to help them rewrite the resume in the most concise and tight manner as possible in the limited space allowed. Don't skimp on using a professional to help you find that next job faster. It's simply not worth saving a few $100s if you can't find the new job. Every week without an interview or a new job is money you are not earning. And in the United States, resume expenses for job hunting is most likely tax deductible. You can talk to your accountant or bookkeeper about that. These are what you need to understand when you shop for a resume writer. Your resume is only as good as the likelihood of a recruiter finding it in a mountain of competitors for that job you're applying for. A poorly written resume will simply and naturally camouflage itself, and the headhunter may never see it. You want your resume to wear an orange vest of keywords and terms for search engine optimization so they can't help but notice the resume in the big stack. The professional you hire to rewrite your resume should have a history of practice, experience, and a multitude of samples and referrals from satisfied clients. What are my qualifications as a resume writer? I have written or rewritten over 10,000 resumes in the last 11 to 12 years. I have 22 years in human resources as a senior manager or director. I have 11 years as a professional senior recruiter and headhunter. I have worked for 11 years in the defense and government services industry, retail, wholesale, transportation, warehousing, logistics, and information technology industries. I have a PhD in education, occupational and technical studies, with training and development in human resources concentration. I am an expert on social media networking, and I am the queen of LinkedIn. I am a published writer with human resources, reference, and genealogy books, all on Amazon.com. And I have been a university professor for information technology and communications. Now, what do you need to know about resume writers? At the end of this presentation, you should now know what questions to ask professional resume writers or rewriters before you purchase their services, or to decide to write your own resume and see how far you can get first. If you can't seem to do it yourself, you're still not sure about your capabilities of writing a precise and rich resume, hire an expert. You can visit my website at dboyerconsulting.com, or you can email me at dawndboyer@dboyerconsulting.com. Get that expert to rewrite your digital resume to obtain results where you are seeking to advance your career. I look forward to talking to you. Thanks.